Next up is a very familiar name. Erik, you're up next.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Can hear you great. Yes, sir.
Wonderful. So I wanted to follow up with a call that I had did with you guys 2 weeks ago about an appointment that I was getting ready to go on. The scenario was the personal representative had been strung along for about 4 months waiting to get a court date to present this offer. Presented the offer, investor disappeared, the guy was left standing, totally exposed, didn't know what to do. Called me and one other investor out. I went out and looked at the property shortly after getting off the call with you guys, gave him a net sheet, went over the benefits, how we can help, how quick we can make this go away. He told me that pretty much it's still going to have to go back for court approval, and since it was a lower offer, it was definitely going to need court approval. What ended up happening with that meeting is we had another wholesaler. We had planned on actually closing the deal and renovating the property, but we had another wholesaler outbid us by $10,000. The seller personal representative flat out told us what the other offer was, and I said, listen, I know these guys, you're going to end up in the same kind of scenario. I'm not trying to denounce anybody, but if they can't sell this thing, you guys are going to go right back into the same situation. Personal representative ends up calling me 4 days later and says, hey, here's what's going on. I spoke to the other buyers. I told them where your offer was at. They immediately took their offer down $9,000, so they outbid me by $1,000 now. And I'm like, does any part of that just seem shady to you whatsoever, that, these guys are continuing to string you along, and now they outbid me by a measly $1,000, and he's going to present this back to the courts. They still have all these contingencies there. And I'm like, I just simply don't understand. Why is it that, you're choosing to go down this path? And he's like, my obligation is to be a fiduciary to the estate. I have to go with what is best for the estate. And I says, well, define what do you mean by best? Is that price-wise? Is that aggravate? What do you mean by best? And he says, well, they're willing to pay more. And I says, but only by $1,000. And if you haven't seen that they adjusted their offer $9,000 less, that's what my offer was. Doesn't it kind of tell you what's coming your way? And I'm standing here with my mouth dropped to the floor saying, this guy's going to get jerked around for another 3 months because somebody's thinking that they're going to give him $1,000, and they truly have no intention of closing. And I know that they're going to have to switch the name on the LLC, which is going to have to. I don't know what to do in this situation. It's so frustrating to stand here.
Whoa. I think I just found the chink in the armor. Slow down.
Uh-oh.
What do you mean they're going to have to switch the name of the LLC?
So they placed vested title to be determined prior to closing, and I said, that tells you right there that they plan on finding another buyer to switch names, which is going to require court approval. And he's like, well, my attorney's handling all that, that's, and I said, that makes no sense. You're going to go through all this aggravation and effort to get this thing approved, and these guys aren't going to be able to perform because if they do bring in another buyer and they can't switch it, they're dead in the water. And it's so frustrating. I'm getting outbid by $1,000 for people who I just know can't perform. I'm floored by that.
Chad, I have an answer, but go ahead. I know you probably have one, but I have a question. You want to go first, Chad? Go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to get clear on that. I think there was a possible opening. So if he has to open the contract, in order to switch the entity, they're going to have to amend the purchase agreement. It sounds like.
Correct. Correct.
If that's the way it's written. And this is where you're the ethical line is you're right up against it, but you have to, if you really believe they're not going to close, then when that contract opens, if he doesn't sign the amendment and they don't close, then he knows you have his back. So the ethical thing to do is make sure he understands that and let this play out on its own. You don't want to be influencing that because that's not going to show well on you. What's that?
Okay. That ain't what I wanted to hear, just because I can see another 3 months going by where this guy's going to get jerked around, and then he's going to come back to me and say, you know what, you're up. You're the last guy standing, you're up. And I'm like, all this over $1,000 difference.
Well, the other answer
Erik,
is you take your emotional response, you step over that ethical line, and you go drag your competitor through the mud. And you don't want anyone doing that to you 3 months down the road, so I'm not suggesting you do it today.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. I'm not that guy.
Right.
Yeah, Eric, I was going to ask if the court wasn't involved. I was going to ask you, which they are, so it does need court approval. But my guess is the guy probably has a very small good faith deposit up. How much did he put down? Do you know?
$500. $500.
Exactly. When I was buying and selling 3 to 5 homes a month, I used to, the best way to answer an objection is before it ever comes up and to handle a situation before it becomes a problem. I used to warn them about one of the big national franchise companies that would come in with $100 down, and if they couldn't flip the house before closing, they'd just walk away from the money. So I would say to them, and I don't know if this is unethical in a court situation, Chad, but say to them, if you want to find out how serious they are, ask them to make that a $5,000 non-refundable deposit. Because I'm willing to do that if you sign the contract or whatever your risk.
We put up 10%, so 16.5 on a buy for 165 grand. We'll put up 16.5. And
but the challenge you have there, you already have a ratified purchase agreement. So they've until the contract opens, there's nothing you can do here.
Yeah.
So I know you don't like my answer, but what my suggestion is, these things usually play out the way you think they're going to. My suggestion is today or as soon as possible, write a backup offer with your 10% earnest money deposit, hand deliver it to him and say, if you sign this and you close, then this agreement is null and void. If you sign this and they don't close, I've got your back and we'll close quickly. And to me, that's the best thing you can do without stepping over that line.
That's the foot that I've been trying to put forward, is just to let them know that, unfortunately, we still have to deal with this several months down the road. I'll still be here to help out, but it's so very frustrating because I'm all about, I'm not about, ruining anybody's name, but I will definitely let them know that, hey, I've seen these people before. They truly have no intention on closing. I just don't want to see you go for a wild ride, but I'm not going to bash anybody. But no, I do agree that is the best route, is to, just be there when the guy's ready and go dig up more deals, build a better pipeline.
But I want to underscore, let me underscore, you need to secure your position with a backup offer. So
He has
make
that.
it.
He has that.
With all the terms and price?
Correct, yes. Yep, I'll close as soon as the bank or as the court needs me to. It's going right into my company name. We're not going to switch anything. 10% earnest money, no contingencies whatsoever. We are ready to close the moment we get court approval and clear title. He already has that in hand. I took it on the appointment with me.
Good on you. Like that's really good. But it sounds like he hasn't signed it.
Well, he hasn't signed either one of them because he needs court approval on it. He said he's gonna take both to the attorney, have them present them to the court, and find out which one is in their best favor. And he says it totally comes down to price, from what he understands.
Well, that changes things. So you're saying that the other investor offer is not ratified? Like he has not signed as the seller?
The personal representative has not signed either of them. He's handed them over to the attorney who's going to present them to the courts. He has not signed either one of them at this point.
Well,
neither of them.
Then I changed my answer. So he doesn't have a contractual agreement with anyone. Like you,
correct.
If I were you, can you back up your opinion with other deals? Like, can you show proof that of that negative reputation?
I can show him that escrows have been opened and released, and I don't know if I can give him the names of other sellers that we bought properties from that have been through the same scenario. I could probably dig up a few names and phone numbers to say, hey, call these people and find out what their experience is with what's his name.
Is there any personal property on the property?
Yeah, there's an old classic. Yeah, there's a classic car in the garage, and then like a enclosed trailer. Nothing of major value.
Can we come up with
$1,000? There's some personal contents out there. Yeah, yeah, $1,500, $2,000. I don't know, a couple grand at the most.
What if you present your offer in such a way that, you know what, I'll clean the property out. You guys don't have to do a thing. I'll come up $1,000 because I know I'm going to close and I know this is in your best interest. Just leave everything there. And then you can make up your $1,000 by finding a guy who knows how to properly disposition that classic car.
by just adding those to the purchase agreement you're saying, and then just saying we'll take care of it?
Just add the personal property in under additional terms. The purchaser and seller agree. And then I think you can extract $1,000 out of the personal property. So beat him in his own damn game. One up him, go $1,001 and make it include the personal property, or go $1,500, whatever, and find a way to extract the value out of that personal property. But if that contract is not ratified,
brilliant. I like
and
that.
Erik, at the same time, go back and what I said before. Now, hey, I've matched his offer. He's got a $500 deposit. I'm willing to put up $16,000. Who do you think's more likely to close?
I've told him. I mean, I've communicated what I've felt. I've said that several times, and he is standing on the leg that I have a fiduciary responsibility. And I'm like, for $1,000, that's never going to happen. I'm like, I just don't understand it.
No, but if you match the price, then he would almost have a fiduciary responsibility to you to go with the most likely to close, and a big deposit versus a small one. It seems like he'd have to recommend you, all else being equal.
Well, my true max was 160. I went up to 165 because I had a general idea that other offers were going to be hovering around the 175 mark. So, even at 165, I don't want to say working for peanuts, but it's at the absolute threshold of where it's not my strike price, but I just want to get this deal done. It's in a great neighborhood. I think we could do more future business just by having a name in there and renovating it and adding some value. So I love Chad's idea. I am going to see if that will help us get it done. And I guess even if it does sound more of a value for him, it's still got to go through court approval either way. So I'm still.
So I have one. There's one more opportunity for a value add here. So what's your disposition strategy? A flip?
Yes, we're going to renovate it and resell it retail.
Are you using your own money?
We are not. No.
Are you using long-term money or short-term money?
Less than a year. 1 year funds.
All right. What I was going to suggest is you can make up, on deal, there's always a deal to be made. So if you have to raise your offer $1,500 and he won't give you the personal property, if you're able to get that under long-term financing, or if you're able to use your cash, then you can sell it with owner financing. And typically it's price or terms, pick one. So you wouldn't get beat up on price. You could sell it at a premium, and then just do a 2-year or 5-year call on the note, and then that way you could make a lot more profit long term. But you've got to get into a position where you're the first position if you're going to do that. So if you have operating capital of your own to step up, you could polish this and actually make it an even better deal. It's just going to take you a couple years to cash out. However, your tax, it's going to be favorable from a tax standpoint. And it's going to, you'll get a much higher overall return on the property.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not in a position to do that at this point. And the real value from my perspective is the presence in the neighborhood. It's a very prestigious area. We'd like to be known a little bit more there. So we're hoping to add some value to the neighborhood, and neighbors see that and maybe pull out some more deals. But I'm not in a position to pull up our own capital at this point. We've got too much deployed.
You're competitive as hell, aren't you?
I don't like it at times, Chad. I don't like it at times.
I hear you don't want to lose, and it's not so much about the profit on this deal. It's about the longer-term vision of we want to name in that neighborhood, and we don't want to be beat out there right now.
Absolutely.
So your other play is to bring in another investor who is well capitalized and just JV with them on this deal. You'll probably end up making the same money, and they'll make some. But instead of using the funding source you're thinking about right now, replace your funding source. Bring in a partner. Do it as an owner-financed flip, and you guys, you're going to get more money out of the deal, guaranteed. You can do it as a lease option. You can do it as a land contract. You can structure it in different ways, but you will ultimately net a lot more money doing it that way, and you won't be hit as hard on taxes this year. So if you really want to win, you can blow these guys out of the water. They're never going to be able to compete with, if you can raise your offer, because your disposition strategy is going to yield a much higher profit than theirs. So you can win, you can get your flag in the sand in the neighborhood, and you can make another investor some money, which will probably yield, referrals in the future from him when he's stuck. So if you know a guy in town that is well capitalized and understands creative financing, that's another play for you.
Okay. Yeah, I will put my head out there and see who I can potentially put into that. Anything I should be cautious as far as like rewriting that deal and structuring it just so we don't get it approved, and making sure that our JV partner is okay with title? Like, is there anything that we should precautionary do up front, other than just knowing what entity we're just knowing what entity we're closing in?
Yeah, two ways you can do this depending on what kind of relationship you have with your partner. If they have an entity and you have an entity, you guys can sign a joint venture agreement between the two entities, and it doesn't even have to be mentioned in the contract. You just choose which one it closes in. Okay. The other thing you can do especially if this is a new relationship, you just form a new LLC underneath, well, maybe not even underneath, just form a new LLC where he holds 50% of the shares and you hold 50%, or your company holds 50% of the shares, and that becomes the entity on the purchase agreement. That way you both have equal control in selling the asset and equal liabilities, in holding the asset. So that way you guys can be more comfortable that way. If it's an existing relationship and you've done deals, a JV can be fine. Otherwise, I would spend $100 and set up an LLC.
I like the idea.
And Eric, I apologize for cutting you off. We have 3 more in the queue, and I know Chad's got to leave on or a few minutes before the hour. But if you want to discuss this further, just reach out to us off the call, and we can chat. Will always be glad to. We appreciate you coming. You always bring some interesting material, and you're very consistent.